Stand by, here we go.
Live from the Civic Center on South 3rd Street, this is Tom Isaac, and this is our second of several evenings of debates on BLG. I'm joined by Randy Patrick, who of course is a reporter for the Kentucky Standard, and of course Bert Shepard, the editor of the Standard. We've got some thank yous to get out of the way first before we get underway with our second evening of debates. And of course the biggest thank you going to Wilson and Eurobank and Trust for making our coverage possible. Mr. Music, thank you for your extra help. And the City of Bardstown cable head end guys, the cable guys, were also helping to facilitate getting this put together. Our crew tonight is slightly different than the one we had last night, but only slightly. John White is heading up the effort. Matt Jordan, Scott Cedarholm. We're using Jamie Sizemore, publisher, for part of our crew. And we're joined this evening by Patrick Dean, who was going to be filling in for Hannah was last night. Tonight, it's all sheriffs, all the time. We've got first the bell works good. We want to make sure that we have to test it. I thought maybe my 30 seconds were up there. Now, tonight we are going to be focusing on the two sheriff races and primaries. And we have two candidates who are running in the Republican primary for sheriff of Nelson County. And we will have three in the Democratic primary. That debate will be taking place starting around 7:15 or so. Both of the debates tonight are an hour long. So with that, we will be getting to our opening statements. We had a flip of the coin backstage, and it was determined that Todd Harper will be leading off with his opening statement, and followed by Chris Middleton, and we'll just reverse that on the closing statements. And, participants have 3 minutes on their opening statements, 3 minutes on their closing, and just as we did last night, 2 minutes to respond to questions, which will be alternately asked by Forrest and Randy, and with the possibility or the probability of getting a reboot on any question that they would like for clarification or for rebuttal. The candidate just has to throw up his hand, and yes, it can be a reply to a reply. We're not going to be keeping such tight rein on things that we would not allow the conversation to continue if necessary. So with that, let's welcome our candidates, and as we said, Todd Harper is leading off.
Thank you to PLG TV and the Kentucky Standard for hosting this live debate. Once again, my name is Todd Harper. I'm a Republican candidate for the position of Nelson County Sheriff. I moved to Bardstown about 18 years ago and took a job with the Bardstown City Police Department. I had met my wife, Michelle, a Nelson County native, and married in 2002. We currently live in Cox's Creek in the Rooster Run area. We have 3 children, a 15-year-old boy that we homeschool, a 10-year-old boy that goes to Bardstown Elementary, the special education program, and a 5-year-old girl that we homeschool as well. I'm a devout Christian. I'm passionate about being pro-life, a follower of Christ, currently serving as associate pastor at our church, Redeeming Grace Chapel in Bardstown. In 2002, I left the Bardstown City Police Department to take a job with the Nelson County Sheriff's Office, working under Sheriff Mike Newton there for about 6 years. In 2008, I accepted a position with the Louisville Metro Police Department, where I am still employed. I consider myself an insider, an outsider, more of a hybrid candidate. And I know the duties of the sheriff and all the community partners are involved with the work of the sheriff. And I believe in God. I believe in the Constitution and the right to bear arms. I believe in being a conservative. I believe in the rule of law. I believe in integrity. I believe in justice with transparency, community, and unity. I believe in servant leadership and placing people with the proper training in the proper places where they can be successful. I believe that we must restore hope and trust in the right place in every single family, in every single community in Nelson County. The last years, as you know, the last 5 years in Nelson County have been horrific, and the Sheriff's Office is in dire need of new leadership. It needs a new identity. It needs a radical change. And I would form a command staff with people of integrity and dismantle the good old boy system. I would be a sheriff that makes decisions simply based on the fact that it's the right thing to do and not because it's a good political decision. We must put a premium on repairing the relationship with the community. I will create a community relations deputy position that will be the media contact, the social media liaison, and attend as many community events as possible. It is my desire as well to start an Explorer program for the youth and continue and grow the Citizens Police Academy. You can be the best detective in the world, but without having the trust of the community and creating an environment where the community feel their input is desired, you're not going to solve anything. As far as drug investigations go, in the last 20 years, the Sheriff's Office has had one detective assigned to the Greater Hardin County Narcotics Task Force, while the drug epidemic has continued to rise. We've got to change this, and I'm not ready to wave the white flag and give up, and we need to attack that disease that is destroying our communities. I love Nelson County. I love the people of Nelson County. I live here, and we deserve better for our community, and that is why I am running for Nelson County Sheriff. Thank you.
Okay, Todd Harper. And now over to Chris Middleton.
Yes, my name is Chris Middleton. I'm running for Nelson County Sheriff. I also moved here approximately 14 years ago. I'm married to my wife, Michelle. I have 3 kids. One goes to Transylvania, one's getting ready to graduate from Thomas Nelson, and one's in 8th grade at OKH. Back before I was on the police department, I worked for LG&E and had a chance to come down and visit Bardstown, job related. Came home that night and I told my wife, I said, I know where we're moving. The place is beautiful. First time I'd ever been here, I was 26 years old. We moved here several years later, and I've loved it ever since. Loved raising our kids here, and we want our kids to come back here. I want to build a community, or part of the building of the community, that where kids do come back home. I agree with Mr. Harper in regards to the drug problem. It needs to be hit hard on. Doing so in 3 different ways. Mr. Patrick wrote his article the other day that I repeated the same thing about helping people with drug problems. I do want to help people with drug problems, but I also want to help people that are dealing drugs out of this county. I want to build a community that's safe. We've been involved with the best small town in America. I want to help keep that going. I've spent most of my career in either narcotics or homicide. I'm currently a homicide detective in Louisville and assigned to the FBI Violent Crime Task Force. I've got a little bit of experience in narcotics and homicide. I can bring that experience to this county and bring it to the deputies I work with. Mr. Harper also said you'd be the best detective in the world. If you don't have the community's trust, it's not going to work. I've done it. I work in one of the worst communities in the cities of Louisville. I'm not in multi-million-dollar homes on an average day. I'm in the parts where most people don't want to go, and that's where a lot of homicides happen. But I've been able to go in, be honest, fair, and earn those people's trust and solve a lot of homicides. I've been part of a lot of investigations. I think I was talking to Mr. Patrick a while back. I feel comfortable saying I've been involved in investigation of over 400 homicides, over 2,000 death investigations in my career. You don't have a high success rate if you don't build trust. We have a high success rate. I personally have a high success rate. As far as a community or a social media detective or a deputy, I want to have a department full of social media deputies. I want them to be out and building trust with the community, building trust with everybody they meet, being out, being visible, and being the people that they can call and say, hey, deputy, I've got this problem in my neighborhood, can you help me out? That's what I want to build with this department. I think it's a good department. I think it'd be made better. Thank you.
Thank you. That was Chris Middleton. And I'll admonish everyone that has got a microphone tonight, if you have one stuck in their face, please speak up as much as you can. Project. Chris, people were having a little trouble hearing you in the back. I don't think there'll be any problem as far as the TV audience is concerned, but everybody is interested in what you have to say. So project. That's what my old drama teacher used to tell me. Just try to get to the back of the room. And Randy and force for you guys too, and probably for me as well. I tend to be a numbler sometimes. Okay, well, let's get the questioning underway. And again, participants will have 2 minutes to answer, but an additional 1 minute if they request clarification or rebuttal. So let's go right, first of all, to Forrest Berkshire.
And Chris, you answer this first. The sheriff has a wide range of duties. Many people know about the law enforcement aspect of the job, but it also includes collecting taxes, providing court security, serving court papers, and other duties. With such a wide range of responsibilities, what makes you the ideal choice for the job?
And Chris will also have an opportunity to weigh in on that same question.
All right. In regards to court security, I'm often in court in Louisville. I speak with a lot of the deputies there. I know a lot of them. It basically boils down to being smart enough to listen to make it better. The guy that's doing the job usually knows what's going on with the job. He's the guy that knows the best way to do it and the easiest way to do it. So as far as court security, I'm going to look at the most effective way, but I'm also going to talk to the deputies that are there and ask them for their input. Civil papers, I've never served with civil paper due to the fact that law enforcement police departments don't do civil process. Sheriffs have always handled it. But in regards to serving warrants, I've got a lot of experience of that. We're going to find the most effective airstream way to do it. It's just the easiest answer for you is the guys that are doing the job. I'm going to go to them and take all their information and find out the best thing that works and is the best thing for the county and the best thing for the sheriff's office.
Great, Todd?
Well, as far as experience there, I was hired by the Hardin County Sheriff's Office in 1999, so I served about a year doing the bailiff work and the court security and things of that nature. So I have that experience already. And like I said before, I worked for the Nelson County Sheriff's Office for almost 6 years. So I did all those things listed and certainly served civil papers. I did that as well, and along with warrants and protective orders and things of that nature. And there's a certain way that each paper that you serve that it's got to be done. It's got to be done proper. And so with that experience, and also I'm familiar with the tax collection and the manpower that it takes to do that and so forth. And there's vehicle inspections that need to be done that you have to go. I used to be certified, but once you leave the agency, you lose that certification, so I had to be recertified. But to do vehicle inspections, whether they come there to the sheriff's office or whether you drive out to their home and do it. But the biggest complaint mostly when I worked there at the sheriff's office was paper service. People want their paper served because they paid for a service. And so you need to get out there and make sure that this paperwork is getting served. And the court system also has time-sensitive paperwork that has to be served, along with the warrants that the city police and other agencies can help serve those warrants. So with the sheriff's office alone is tasked with the civil paperwork, and we need to put a priority in making sure that paperwork is served in a timely manner.
All right, Todd Harkin. Let's go to Randy Patrick now. Let's see if we can get this mic right in your mouth.
All right, I hope you can hear me. Let's let Mr. Middleton answer this one. This is going to be for both of you, but you first. Do you have a particular philosophy on how to conduct effective law enforcement?
Fair.
Did you elaborate on that?
Fair is the easiest way to do it is fair, being fair about it. I've been in, like I said, I've been in law enforcement going on 27 years now. I take great pride in the fact that there's people that I've put in prison for a long time, whether it be murder, for drugs, whatever it may be. I put them in prison. I take a huge amount of pride as they walk out the door, they've shook my hand. Or when they get out of prison, I run into them on the street, we're able to speak and have a conversation because I was fair to them. I think the best way to be in law enforcement is fair. Take all the facts in the case and work it the way it's supposed to be worked. Listen to both sides of every issue and find out what is going on. To be honest and open and fair. That's the best honest answer I can give you, is just be fair.
All right, Mr. Harkin.
I believe to be effective with law enforcement, obviously fairness is very important. But to be fair, we also need to make sure that we're reaching out to all of these smaller communities in Nelson County, and not just the Bardstown area or the immediate area around it. We need to make sure that we're getting a New Hope and Boston and Chaplin and Fairfield, Bloomfield, all these different areas. We need to make sure that they're getting their equal share of patrol, their equal share of law enforcement. And we certainly need to use the community in our law enforcement duties. It's the community out here that knows what's going on. They know who's dealing the drugs and who's breaking into cars and who's breaking into houses. So to have effective, fair law enforcement, we need to use our community. And we certainly need to do our jobs effectively as possible and give it our best efforts. And if we're not giving our best efforts, then we're certainly not being effective.
Okay, Chris, you have something to add?
It goes back to what I said. If you're fair, I understand getting out and being out there, and I've said that from the very beginning. Every person that works in the sheriff's office will be available throughout this whole county. If there's something going on, or there's nothing going on, where I can get a deputy that's usually doing a different job out patrolling, I'm going to have them out there. But if you're fair and you're honest with your people and open with them, they're going to come to you. They're going to build their trust in you, and they're going to call you and let you know what's going on in the community. I've seen it happen. It's happened to me hundreds of times in my career. So, when I say fair, it's getting out and just doing the right thing and meeting the people and building that trust where they want you there.
Okay, moving along, we go back to Forrest.
All right, and this question, Todd Harper, you'll answer first. Many people say marijuana is a harmless drug. Some states have even legalized its use for recreation. Share with us your views on enforcement of Kentucky's laws that make marijuana illegal. Do you think this is a good use of the limited resources?
Well, I mean, that's a hot topic. It's not something that the sheriff can change. It's legislation that's going to change that. We can only enforce the laws that we're given to enforce. And to answer that question, it would just be my personal opinion and not necessarily the view of the sheriff, because once again, the sheriff can only enforce the laws that are on the books that we can enforce. And there's great uses for medical marijuana that can be used, but as we look at places like in Denver, Colorado, I don't want to be walking down the street with my family and smell marijuana coming from somebody walking down the sidewalk smoking a joint. And I just don't think it's right. I think we're losing and we're giving in to the breaking down of our family foundation. And that's just, we can't let people walk down the sidewalk drinking alcohol. So why would we legalize marijuana, allow them to smoke it in a public place or in an area where you can smell marijuana from a mile away. And I'm not ready to give in to that. It's a gateway drug. And I don't want it to be even more accessible to our youth than it would be if we made it legal. And so that's my personal opinion, but as sheriff, I would enforce the laws that I'm given to enforce.
Okay, Chris Middleton.
Yes, sir. I agree with Mr. Harper as far as enforcing the laws that are in place. We police as much as the community will let us police. We enforce every law that this current state lets us do, and that's what I'll do. I also agree with Mr. Harper. No, I don't believe it should be legalized. And the reason why, I've spent a career doing this. The common statement is, nobody gets high on smoking marijuana, goes out and hurts anybody. I've worked more homicides regarding marijuana than any other drug. I've seen it happen. And I would ask people before you jump on the bandwagon to either legalize it or fight against it, go look at the statistics. Look at the DUI rate in Denver or Colorado itself. Look at the amount of cartel involvement with the legalized marijuana dispensaries. Look at those numbers. Take the time to do the research and don't just listen to what you're told. There's a ton of information out there in regards to the legalization of marijuana and the impact it has on the state and neighboring states. The DUI rate has went through the roof in Colorado, marijuana related. There are people smoking and driving. In Louisville, we have what's called DREs, drug recognition experts, because it goes away from being able to do a DUI investigation with your standardized field sobriety test to have to be able to identify when somebody's under the influence of a narcotic. That's what's happening in our city, and I hate to see it happen here.
Okay, Randy Patrick, the next question.
Does he have another rebuttal, Harper?
He has it. I did, I
I
missed
just
his
wanted,
second.
I just
Oh,
wanted
I'm
to
sorry.
add,
The
along with
other
what-
one, put that hand way up there, so I can see what.
I just wanted to add what Chris was saying. I certainly agree with what he was saying with the DUIs on the rise in Denver, Colorado. I've also read articles and papers that have been done with the homeless population that's went through the roof in Denver, Colorado. So we got to look in the state of Kentucky, especially if the surrounding states haven't legalized marijuana. We're going to be dealing with a lot more of the homeless population just down our streets, and because they can smoke marijuana and be legal doing it. And the research and the articles I've read have certainly supported that that's what's happening in Denver, Colorado. But also with medical marijuana, there is a lot of things that you can do that's positive with it.
Okay, now to Randy.
All right. Mr. Harper, this one is, if you'll answer this one first as well, staying on the issue of drugs. What can the local sheriff's office do to reduce the amount of harder drugs like heroin and methamphetamine in the community?
Well, we certainly need to work with our justice system. And the problem is we're making arrests, or the sheriff's office will be making arrests and placing people in jail. And then the justice system, they're just falling through the cracks. They either get on probation or they get nothing. And so what we need to do, we need to set up a program and work with the court system, like Chris alluded to earlier. We need to get the users help. They need help. We need to get them in places where they can get that help, and we need to assist them in doing so. We need to have that information available with our deputies, that they can hand out cards with information, phone numbers, and places they can go to get that help. But we certainly need to expand the drug investigation unit. One guy for the last almost 20 years isn't enough, and we've got to add the manpower there. We've got to get more aggressive on it. We've got, the community out here know who's dealing drugs. They know which house is getting constant traffic, and we've got to crack down on that. We can't just let it go anymore. We can't send a marked car with a uniformed deputy to that house to investigate that. They're not going to get anywhere. We've got to have plainclothes, plain cars detectives watching these places, getting search warrants and taking care of these problems, because it's a quality of life issue in all of our communities, and we need to attack it head on.
Chris Middleton.
Yes, sir. Regards to the drugs, I agree from the aspect of it is a quality of life issue. But I think you have to get your deputies trained and have them feel comfortable sitting on the stand, build proper cases, build a case that is hard for a judge, for a jury not to find the person guilty of. Build effective cases and use the resources that are available out there. Yeah, we've only had one deputy as assigned to drugs in the last 20 years. I also, I've been talking to other people. When I'm elected sheriff, I plan on bringing in other resources. One of the big questions I was asking, I think it was misunderstood by somebody, bringing LMPD in. I'm not bringing LMPD in, but I'm going to use the resources that are available. There's guys abroad that do training across the nation. Why not have them here to train people how to build effective cases? Why not have them here to train how to identify issues that are going on? Excuse me. You know, I tell people a lot of times, when we have a snow here in Bardstown, you walk into Walmart, and at the front door there they have gas line antifreeze, lock de-icer, rock salt, and pipe grease. You think, man, that's really convenient. They've got everything here for it. Well, they've got a meth lab sitting there. I want people when they're out, the deputies that work with me when they're out, and they see things like that, to identify them, to target those things. He said you can't put a marked unit with a uniformed guy, go answer a call for drugs. Absolutely wrong. You can put a marked guy sitting in a hot neighborhood that you've got problems with, and let them know that you're there and you're paying attention. We've done it in the past, it works, and it brings attention to the area. I will do that. It comes back again to having your case built tight. If it's a case that arises that you can take it federal, we're going to take it federal. If it's a case that we need to use an outside agency to help us out in, we're going to use it. I think you can hit it head on. I was part of a group one year, we had 100 cases. By the end of the year, we locked up 65 of them. We can do it here.
I think they're trying to play you off.
Yes, sir. I got the devil on.
And Todd, you wanted to...
Yeah, I just want to add to the fact that I'm wrong about a marked police car and a marked in a uniform. Yes, you're going to stop that flow of drug sales while you're sitting there on that street. But as soon as you leave, it's going to start right back up. That's all part of patrol. When we're around, those things are going to stop. I understand that. But you're not going to be able to, the percentage is so much lower that you're going to actually be able to put a stop to that. And so I don't necessarily agree with that. Also, with the Greater Hardin County Narcotics Task Force, they have a vast amount of resources and training that they can provide with the sheriff's office. We don't necessarily have to use the feds or use LMP to do that. We have it right here that we already have a working relationship with. We just need to add the manpower to that investigation unit.
Okay, Chris, an extra minute?
Yes, sir. You're right. No, you're wrong. If you put a marked unit there, and like I said earlier, if you're fair and you build a trust and a relationship with members of the community, they're going to call that marked unit when he leaves and let him know who's moving where and who's doing what. Once again, to go back to being fair and honest and building a relationship with them, they will call you and we'll give you information. I know it works. I've done it. I've made arrests from it. I wasn't always a detective. I've been a marked unit, and I know how to build a relationship, and we'll do that with my deputies.
All right. And back to Forrest.
And this question will go to Chris Middleton first. Yes. Law enforcement often involves conflict, and there are times when people feel they've been treated unfairly or that an officer has acted unprofessionally. How would you handle allegations of deputies' misconduct?
I've got absolutely no problem whatsoever investigating if there's an allegation of misconduct. As we left tonight, I saw on the news where a Hillview police officer had been arrested or indicted today. I don't want it. I've told my kids ever since we moved down here, when you walk in that door, we're the only Middletons in this county protect our name. When I hired on Jefferson County Police in 2000, Officer Adam Houghton walked into the courtroom or to the classroom. He said, "The day you are a Jefferson County policeman, you will be a county policeman the rest of your life, whether you be a fired policeman, a dead policeman, retired or resigned. The rest of your life, you're a Jefferson County policeman." I want every deputy that works for Nelson County Sheriff's Office to know that they are a Nelson County Sheriff's deputy. That's our family. That's our name. Act right, be fair, be honest, and do the right thing. If they come in and they hurt our name, then we'll have to do what we have to do.
All right, Todd?
Transparency. It's as simple as that. You know, the less transparent you are, the more people start to think what's going on. So we need to let the public know. We need to let the media know what we have and what we're investigating. The police officer does have rights, so we do have to abide by those. But we certainly need to be transparent. My command staff's going to have to sign a resolution of integrity saying that they will conduct themselves in appropriate manners on and off duty. And that my whole platform is integrity. So if I have a deputy that is doing something wrong, I don't want them as a member of our department. If they're doing something that reaches a level of termination, then we certainly need to take care of business, because that ruins my name as the sheriff, and it ruins the name of the Nelson County Sheriff's Department. We put on that badge and that uniform. We want to be proud about that. We want our community to be proud that they have a sheriff's office, the Nelson County Sheriff's Office, that they can be proud of. So most certainly transparency with that.
Chris, you wanted to add?
Yes, sir. I do believe in the transparency also, but also it'd be the same, and I'm going to treat any deputy that works for me the same as I would any citizen. I'm going to be fair with them. If I got a citizen in the community that's accused of something, we're going to address it with that citizen. We're going to make sure that it's done fair and honest in an open way. But I'm not going to go out and tell you that Joe Smith over here is under investigation when I don't know 100% that he did something. As far as the integrity goes, I expect every deputy that works there to have integrity. Integrity is doing the right thing when no one's looking. I would expect everybody that's working there is doing the right thing when no one's looking.
And Todd?
Well, with transparency and investigations, and Louisville Metro does it quite a bit, the media is going to find out about it. The people are going to find out about it. So you need to meet it head on and tell them this is what we have. We don't know the facts of the case, but we're investigating it. There's no reason to keep it quiet. If you keep it quiet, rumors are just going to run amok, and the outcome of the case could be jeopardized. So we need to let people know what we have. I'm not saying the guy's guilty. I'm saying we have a complaint, and we need to get out there. We need to let people know that deputy also needs to be treated with due process. And he's innocent until proven guilty, just like the regular citizen. So we need to treat them with that respect as well.
All right, Randy.
Mr. Harper, you will answer this one first as well. Do you support the concept of officers wearing body cameras? Do you think sheriff's deputies should have to wear them?
Well, I like having a body camera, and it certainly helps me when I'm out on the street. I enjoy wearing it because I know that I'm doing the right things. The issues with LMPD that we've ran into is their junk. And the one I have now is halfway broken. And so they have spent tons and tons of money on these body cameras that are just breaking. I don't know how many I've been through because they just tear up. And so we're a smaller community with a smaller budget. We're not LMPD. So until there's the right equipment out there that's cost effective, if we can get a grant or something of that nature to get good quality cameras, I'm for it. Now, also you have to have the storage of the memory. There's a ton of memory that goes into that. I think Indiana even passed a law on how long you have to keep that memory. So I'm sure Kentucky will look at that as well at some point. And so then you're going to have to hire a full-time person to watch those and be able to give those out to attorneys as they want them for the court system. So if people are willing to pay for it, I'm all for it. But there's a lot of finance, a lot of money that goes into body cameras. But I think they're a great thing if they're willing to be paid for by fiscal court or via a grant.
Okay, Chris, body cam?
I do support the body cameras. Like I said, I've been in law enforcement 27 years, and I'm like anybody else that's been in it so long. When it first came out, wasn't a fan. Did see a need for it because the guys I worked with I knew were good and honest guys. But over the years, I've seen where it's helped officers so many times when allegations were made against them. So yes, I do support. I understand what Mr. Harper said as far as the cost and the storage. I think LMPD is probably going to run into a cost issue with their storage here in the near future. It's a huge amount when you get into the storage. So I understand that. I agree with it, but I do support them. I think they're a good tool to have. And it's, like I tell people all the time, if we're going to be honest with each other, you and I can lie to each other, but a video camera can't lie. So I do support it.
Okay, back to the force.
Do you support having a school resource officer in local schools? And would you commit a deputy as a resource officer? And this is going to go to Mr. Middleton first.
I would not commit a deputy to the school resource officer, but I do want each and every deputy to be a constant visibility in each of the schools. In the city of Louisville, we've got a contract with Thornton's gas stations. If you go back and look historically, Thornton's is one of the few gas stations that isn't robbed, due to the fact you never know when a policeman's going to be there. There's always policemen going there to get gas, get a Coke, use restrooms, whatever it may be. So their visibility there is very, known. Thornton's are not hit. I think if we can get the deputies out and get a system that we know to where we're getting out, we're visiting schools, we're visible, we're at the sporting events, switch on providers and go to a sporting event that night. And you build a relationship again with students. If there's an issue that's coming up in school, they feel comfortable calling and asking to speak to a certain deputy or to speak, to the sheriff or anything, you can do it. I think that's the best way to do it. The sheriff's office, as I understand it, is very, the resources are very tight. So unless we could find a grant that would help us out, or work with the school board in order to put a sheriff's deputy in there, or even work with Barstown PD to find a way to do a joint issue to where we could accomplish that. But just going in and telling me I'm going to put one right in off the bat, I can't do that. If we've got so many people in the community are saying, I want you in Howardstown or New Hope or wherever, I've got to use my resources right.
Here's Todd.
I rode the streets of Dixie Highway for 10 years with Louisville, but 2 months ago I left to actually take a position as a school resource officer with the Academy at Shawnee at 41st Street in Herman. And in my time there, in the 2 months I've been there, obviously I think there's a great need for school resource officers. But here in Nelson County, it's a little bit more difficult. When they had one before, it's because they had a grant and they were able to pay for it. We can't take the manpower away from the sheriff's office and give it to the school. And if we did, which school do we give it to? How are we being fair about it? Do we give it to Bloomfield? Do we give it to Thomas Nelson County High School? I mean, where do they go? How are we being fair? So what we do need to do, though, with the schools, If there's a grant available for a specific school, absolutely, I'm all for it. I'm a fan of it. However, what we do need to do, I think here in Nelson County, we need to create a committee of law enforcement, teachers, principals, staff, even students, a safety committee where we address the issues that we're having with the schools as far as safety goes. And we need to address those. The more we get together, the more wisdom we can have, the more ideals we can have, and things that actually work instead of just coming up with ideals that can't work. Any candidate that tells you he's going to put a school resource officer in all the schools, they're lying because they can't. It's not financially or the manpower is not there. It can't happen. However, we need to build a relationship with the schools. Our community relations deputy will work as a liaison to the schools, and if there's an issue and they hear about something, then we would be able to address it. And that deputy can go into schools and investigate any of those complaints. But we've got to have a working relationship with the schools in order to make that successful.
Chris Moore?
Go back to that. I want the deputies to be out. I want them to be out and visible. I want to touch this over there. I'm not going to have a community relations deputy. I'm not going to take the manpower off the road for that either. If I can't put them in school, I'm not going to have them work on Facebook. That's going to be first and foremost. I'm not going to do that. We have 2 guys in Louisville that do it. That could be better spent on the street. When you've got guys that can't take vacation, can't go do things with their family, that's wrong. I'm not going to do that. If I can't have a school resource officer, I'm not going to have a community relations deputy. I will have my deputies out and doing random school visits and building a sense of you never know when a deputy's going to be there.
Todd?
Obviously, I will have a community relations deputy, and they're not a position where they're playing on Facebook. It's a position where they connect with the community. The more we connect with the community, the more we can solve things going on around here. The better we can build relationships. We can build relationships with the media. We can get facts out there. We can send out weekly crime reports to everyone so they know, hey, we had a house broken into on my street. They need to know about that so they can be on high alert, so they can help us solve crimes. By having a community relations deputy constantly working that, he's taking the stress off the road deputies. And actually that takes off runs they may have to make because the community relations deputy has already taken care of it. So that we've got to have a liaison between us, the community, the media. We've got to that in schools, because if we don't, we're going to have a lack of communication. And we can't just say everybody here is going to be a community relations deputy. It's not going to work. It's going to fail. It hasn't passed.
Okay, Chris, you have your hand up.
I don't think it will fail. I think every deputy should be a community relations deputy. And the first time I ever met Mr. Patrick, he asked me this question. We were sitting over at Kentucky Standard. He asked me the question, and I told him he didn't know. And he said, well, how do you get the information? I said, I'm going to give you my phone number. He said, well, you can answer the call. And I reached in my pocket, I pulled out 2 phones. One's a personal, one's a business. I've answered it for 16 years. I'll continue to answer it. If you need to know something, ask me. There's many times I call you because I need stuff put out. I'm not going to take a deputy and have him do that full time. Every deputy I have will be a community relations deputy.
Okay, to Randy Patrick.
Mr. Middleton, if you'll answer this one first. The Kentucky State Police is investigating 3 serious unsolved crimes in Nelson County. Murder of police officer Jason Ellis, the murders of mother and daughter Kathy and Samantha Netherland, and what appears to be a targeted assassination of Tommy Fallon. Should the Nelson County Sheriff's Office be more involved with the investigation of these crimes?
Yes, sir. They should. And I think it's a thing of building up restoring the relationship with the Kentucky State Police. I think it's a huge thing, is to have a good working relationship. I've been lucky enough to work with the state police over my career. I respect them 100%. I think they're a good agency. I think they have a lot of pride in their agency, which they should have. When I'm elected sheriff, one of the first things I'll do is be on post 4. I'll go down and sit with the captain of that post and figure out what we got to do to where we work together. I've worked homicides out of post 4 before. I know the guys down there, like them, consider a lot of them my friends, and I plan on using every relationship I have with the Kentucky State Police to restore our relationship between the Nelson County Sheriff's Office and KSP, to where we bring in, get back involved in it and have an effective outcome. So yes, sir.
Todd?
I agree, absolutely. We need to have a working relationship with Kentucky State Police. obviously with these homicides that have occurred, I'm not okay with just sitting around doing nothing. Kentucky State Police do have detectives working this. I understand that. I would love to meet with them when elected, and then we can discuss exactly what's going on. What are we waiting for? And why are we calling a homicide a death investigation? It's pretty obvious to everyone else in the world that's a homicide. And so we need to get out here and we need to start asking some questions. And there's people I've talked to that have information in relation to this stuff, and nobody's talking to them. I don't know what's going on. And I'm not saying the state police has it. They're certainly, I'm sure, doing as much as they can, but we need to work closer together, because the state police is not necessarily a community policing agency. The sheriff's office is. We're the ones taking a hit from the community because nothing's being solved. So we've got to fix that. We've got to get out here and find out what's going on, and we've got to work with state police, and hopefully they would work with us. But this crime happened in our community, and then we need to put a stop to it. We need to find out what happened, and you know what? We need to prosecute them. And we need to take them before a grand jury and prosecute them. And we need to give them their day at trial. And, there's also lab results that are being waited upon, I'm sure, and things of that nature. So we need to find out all those facts before we do any of those things. But the worst thing here is nobody knows anything. And so many years have gone by already, nobody knows anything. We just can't say nothing. Say something. And if you don't know anything, say you don't know anything. But you got to say something.
Chris?
I'm a little bit different in regards to, I have worked homicide investigation. I've assisted in, when an officer's been hurt and an officer's been killed. I understand the state police's position of being tight-lipped because they don't know who's listening. But I do want to get back in there and build that relationship to where they're not tight-lipped anymore. There are normal press conferences. There's normal routine issues to where people are kept apprised of it. A lot of people in this county, no, they don't know what's going on. They're scared. I've met a woman while I was out campaigning who's scared to death. She's got security all around her house. Nobody should have to live that way. So I think if I can get in and build a relationship back up to state police, we can get the information out and bring a little bit of peace.
Yes, Captain.
They're fearful because they don't know anything. And that's the problem. The community is not going to wait around and wait around and wait around. And so everybody's on high alert. They're not comfortable. Now, people aren't comfortable, and they're fearful, and stress comes in. And then when you're stressed, people start to be at each other's throats. And it's really ruined our quality of life here in Nelson County, the lack of communication, the lack of information. And that is something that I want to stress, that we've got to, if you don't know anything, at least say you don't know anything, or say something. But just to be quiet, I think it creates a bigger problem.
You mentioned earlier that this needs to get in front of a grand jury. How do you see the role of the sheriff, and Chris, if you could also weigh in on this, the sheriff in pushing, let's say, a Commonwealth attorney or other elements into getting somebody in front of a grand jury? Is that an appropriate action on your part, or is that something that should be separated out from the regular job?
Well, it's solely up to in Nelson County, Terry Gohagan, the Commonwealth attorney. It's his final call to place something before the grand jury. And so basically it's sitting down with Terry Gohagan and let's go over the facts of this case. Let's go over the history of cases that Nelson County has tried. And do we have the evidence to prosecute somebody? If we don't have the evidence, then let's find out what evidence we need to get, and let's concentrate in that area instead of concentrating on the whole thing again. What can I do as sheriff of Nelson County and my deputies do to help the Commonwealth attorney to prosecute these cases and get them before a grand jury? You can get it before a grand jury and not get a true bill and still bring it back at another date before the grand jury when you have more evidence comes through. It's not like a jury trial where you can only be tried once. You can continually present things to the grand jury, and I certainly think that they should.
Chris, how do you see the role?
I've been to the grand jury numerous times. I've worked with my Commonwealth attorneys. I've worked with them on a daily basis. My cases, I don't know the last time I was in district court. To give you an idea, you go to district before you go to circuit. I think you have to build a reputation and have to be seen as competent with your Commonwealth attorney. I plan on, as the role of sheriff, it would be the people that are investigating the cases from our standpoint, from the sheriff's office, to be competent and be trusted enough to when they present something to Terry Gohagan or any of the assistant Commonwealth attorneys, whether it be Chip McKay, whoever it may be, where they trust the deputies, they know they've done due diligence, and they've got a case that's worth presenting. And if it's a little bit iffy on it, it's worth trying. I don't believe in going to the grand jury multiple times and taking multiple hits at it. That's building a false hope for the families, and it's not fair to the families.
Tom, you also had something to add.
Yeah, I mean, it happens all the time with grand jury. I mean, grand jury here in Nelson County isn't Jefferson County Judicial Center. It's a different atmosphere. And here in Nelson County, I've got faith in Chip McKay as an assistant Commonwealth attorney. I think he's a great attorney. But I think it happens a lot where you're bringing additional information to the grand jury. And I think that we need to bring it to the grand jury. And obviously, the facts are there. The evidence is there. And to say it's solely upon who's bringing it to them, you know, the facts are the facts of the case. So you either have faith in your ability to prosecute this upon the facts that are there, or not. So if we do, let's present it to the grand jury and move forward. Let's discuss it with the family, and let's also give them input on how they feel we should proceed with it, because ultimately they're the victims of this case. They're the ones that have to deal with this the rest of their life, so they should be involved.
And we continue the back and forth there, Chris.
Well, there's a big difference. What you said earlier is sometimes you get no true bill, you try again. We're not going to do that. All right, we're not going to try, you know, and just put something in there to try it. When we take it to the grand jury, we're going to take it to the grand jury because it's there. Now, there's a big difference between that, and there's a difference between putting 60 people before a grand jury, which I've done in the past, to, you know, successfully prosecute a doctor for prescribing opiates. Now, I've got no problem taking 60 different witnesses and putting them in front of a grand jury and getting their testimony, and it may take 6, 8, 10 months. That's fine. I'm all about that. But to go up and to ask for an indictment and not get it and then try again, that's what I'm talking about. That's not fair to the family. That's building a false hope, and I won't do it.
Todd?
And that's not what I said. What I said was, if we can prosecute it, let's prosecute it. And if we have the evidence, let's present it. Let's not continue to wait for more information to roll in, more information to roll in. If we have enough to prosecute, let's present it to the grand jury. If the grand jury doesn't think so, then we need to gather what evidence are we lacking, what additional information and evidence do we need that the grand jury would put a true bill on it.
Okay, I think we pretty well covered that, so let's get back and forth.
One serious investigation that the sheriff's office is leading is into the disappearance of Crystal Rogers. How would you handle the case as sheriff? This is going to go to Tom Hartman first.
Well, obviously, I haven't seen the case file, so I don't know what all the sheriff deputies there in Nelson County have done. But I know from my experience from being out in this community knocking doors, I've met several people that have told me how they've offered their help at the very beginning, but were ignored. Someone that offered an airplane to search the area, but was told they didn't need them. And that's part of using the community. If I got a guy with an airplane, and we're missing someone and we're searching an area, why wouldn't I allow them to help? And if I got a guy with a boat, or I got a guy that knows how to scuba dive or whatever, we need to use all the community partners that we can. And at this point, that case has apparently grown stale. I don't know if they're waiting on lab results. I can't really comment on that because I don't know. It'd just be guesses. But what I do know about that case is that the family of Crystal Rogers need to be kept in the loop. Every single time something is going on, they need at least monthly meetings to meet with this family because they're hurting, because they have no answers. And now Tommy Ballard was killed. And we need to let them know that we still care and that we're still trying. And we need to have meetings with them, multiple meetings with them to let them know what we're doing, what we're trying. And if they have any more ideas or anything like that we can use. And when we're out in the community and they're talking about it, let's take their input. What do they know? People out here have seen something or they know something, and we need to be able to earn their trust where they would let us know.
All right, Chris?
I agree from the aspect of I haven't seen the case file, and I would never even begin to develop or make any statement as to it. I'm in a different perspective from any other candidate, in fact, as I am a homicide detective. I take that very serious. I'm very proud of that fact. that I am a homicide detective. They go back to the family I spoke about earlier. There's only a small group of us. Out of 1,200 officers on the metro, there's 25 of us. With that being said, the first thing I would do as sheriff is come in and ask to see the case file. Just sit down, look at it, read it, talk to the deputies involved in it, talk to anybody that's been involved in it. We're going to look at how we can go back and fix anything that hasn't been done right, and how the things that were done right, we can do them better. We're going to open the case file back up day one that I walk in the office. That'd be one of the first things I do, and we're going to look at it. I've said several times I've used every resource available. I'm going to use every resource available. There's things out there, and I don't ever want to be perceived as talking bad about the guys that have been involved in these cases. I feel for them. I know exactly what they go through. It's a hard job. It's a horrible job sometimes. I refer to it often as my blessing, my curse. But I will, the day one, we'll be opening up that case file, sitting down with the deputy that's got it, and we're going to figure out what we need to do different to bring the Ballards some peace and calm to the third of their life. That family's been through tremendous tragedy. I feel horrible for them. I can't imagine. I deal with families quite often, and it's horrible. I agree from the standpoint of having constant communication. We've got a thing in our my case files. It's family contact log. It goes down and talks every time I talk to my victim's family. I talk to them a lot. I build relationships with them. I end up becoming friends with them, and sometimes you don't want to, because it's a constant reminder on both sides of what that family went through. I was in a restaurant here recently, and I ran into a guy. I walked up and shook my hand. That's a relationship. I hope it fix that relationship and build the trust with the Ballards.
Okay, Chris, we are getting a signal that you were past time there, but that's okay. We're not trying to be Nazis about this at all. But we are at a point where we need to get to our closing statements. And we'll have 3 minutes. You don't have to take all the 3 minutes, but it's there. And we'll just go in the reverse order that we did as far as opening statements were concerned. And that would put you back in the spotlight, Chris.
Once again, I'm coming to you all. I'm asking if you'd elect me sheriff. This has been probably one of the most humbling experiences I've had in my career as law enforcement. I'm coming to people and I'm asking them 10, 12, 14, 15 times a day for a job. I'm interviewing daily. There's a lot of good guys in this race. I'm not going to talk bad about any of them. I respect all of them. I appreciate the fact that they're willing to take the responsibility of being the sheriff, especially with some of the issues that went on in this county. It's not going to be a fun job, and it's not going to be an easy job. But I don't think any of us ever signed up for fun and easy. I do have a passion for this. I was going about my life just as easy as can be, working, coming home, and just going about life. A lot of people that knew I was a homicide detective asked me to come down here. I'm constantly here. Why don't you come down and work some of these cases? And I said, well, I don't work down here. But back in December last year, I was asked by someone if I'd be interested in running for sheriff. Mulled it over with my wife and everything, and it's going to be a tough job. But I kind of, my wife would get mad at me, but I kind of got tickled at her. I wish she told me before work. I said, "Do you need to eat a sandwich or something before you leave, in case you get a little nervous and dry mouth?" And I kind of thought it was funny, because this is what I do. This is what I am. I enjoy this job. I want to bring some the Ballards. I feel horrible for them. I want to get there and help them out. I want to get there and help out in this community. There was 2 funerals today in town. One was a 22-year-old kid. I hate to see that. Mr. Patrick wrote the other day that they're constantly talking about helping out people with drug addiction. When I went to narcotics last time, I went to the prescription diversion meeting, and I found out I hate the word addict. I don't like it anymore, because you've got so many people that are good people, and because of life circumstances, they find themselves addicted to drugs. Nobody wakes up in the morning and says, "I'm going to try heroin." Let me go try heroin. It's because of the way life took them down that path. And if we can get a community to where that's not available to them, to where that's not an option, that's not something they want to seek. Right around Barstow right now, look at the amount of help and wanted signs. Surely we can do something to where we get with the community and find these people employment where they have good, productive lives. I appreciate your time, and thank you, PLG, for your attention to this, and I ask for your vote May 22nd.
like Chris Middleton. And now Todd Harper is close and speak.
Once again, I love Nelson County. I love the people of Nelson County. This is where I live. This is where I raise my family. This is where I attend church. I want what's best for Nelson County, and I look at the last 5 years or so, and I don't like the direction that this county is headed. I'm not ready to give up on justice for unsolved cases. I'm not ready to wave the white flag to the drug epidemic that's taking place in our communities. We want change now. And I want to see a sheriff's office that believes in transparency and has a constant contact with the community via utilizing our media, whether it be TV, radio, social media, or even attending all the community events they can. The sheriff's office should be a community police agency. And both the sheriff's office and the community working together, side by side, to solve the issues together. And people in our community, they see what's going on out there. They know who the drug dealers are. There are people that still write down license plates. There's people when they see a strange vehicle in a neighborhood, they write it down. And we need to utilize our community partners, our other agencies, every chance we get to accomplish the task that's set before us. The only way that we can gain trust from the community is to lead with integrity. And trust from the community has to be earned. It's not just given to you. I want to create a command staff of men and women of integrity. Each member of my staff will be required to sign a resolution of integrity, meaning they understand our vision, the importance of conducting ourselves while on and off duty. I'm running for Nelson County Sheriff because I see a need of new leadership and an opportunity to right the ship and head in the right direction. Everyone in Nelson County deserves to be treated fairly and appropriately by the Sheriff's Office. It shouldn't matter what race or sex you are, what area you live in, how much money you have, who you know, your political affiliation, your education. You're entitled to exceptional quality service that we require the deputies that work for me to provide. If it was important enough for me to come and knock on your door and ask for your vote, then it should be important enough for me to make sure that your community gets the police protection the same as everybody else in this county. And I will be a transparent sheriff. And with an open door policy, you're welcome to call or come by my office anytime. I'm a man of faith. I will make decisions based on that, meaning I will do what is right. I will treat people the way I want to be treated. I will conduct myself in a manner that a Christian should conduct themselves. And the office of sheriff can affect so many lives in our community. And I want that to be a positive effect. I ask that you join me in our campaign to take back our communities. We can't rely on the government for everything, so we must do this together. I ask for your vote for me, Todd Harper, for sheriff in the Republican primary on May the 22nd. Thank you.
And thanks to both of our candidates and to our crew and the questionnaires here on my right and left. We do invite you to stay tuned on the Democrats at any rate, because we have three Democratic candidates for Nelson County Sheriff in the upcoming primary. We'll be getting underway here in about 15 minutes. So stay tuned, and a reminder that all of our debates will be rebroadcast the weekend before the primary. Not sure the exact date, but watch for it in the Standard here on PLG. So until we get back with the Democrats, this is Tom Isaac. Good evening.
Wow.